The night he betrayed his father, the moon itself turned away. Thick clouds swallowed its silver glow, plunging the palace courtyard into a darkness so deep that even the crickets silenced their song. The wind eased through the trees, carrying whispers that felt like the murmurs of spirits, but none dared to speak aloud of the doom about to unfold. For who would believe that his son, the only heir of King Ade, the Lion of Ajibogun, would dare raise his hand against the man who gave him life? Inside the great palace, Prince Sola stood by the wide window, gazing out into the shadows of the kingdom. His lean figure was tall but restless, his shoulders stiff, his breath uneven. Behind him, the marble floor stretched wide, polished by generations of servants. Yet his eyes were not on the beauty of the palace. They burned with something darker, envy, thick and choking, like smoke filling his lungs. From afar, the sound of drums drifted to him. The praise singers were out in the streets again, their voices rolling into the night. Aid the wise, aid the warrior, aid the shield of Ajibogun. Each chant pounded in Sola's head like a hammer, his fists clenched tight at his sides, nails biting into his skin. His lips trembled before the bitter words slipped out. Always him. Always aid the great. Aid the loved. When would they see me? When would the drums thunder Sola the mighty? The palace walls gave no reply. The night swallowed his question whole. For years, Sola had lived in his father's shadow. King Aid's presence was like the sun, warm, commanding, inescapable. Wherever he went, he carried a dignity that silenced dissent and drew love from his people. Even in battle, his roar had been said to scatter enemies before his sword was raised. Sola was the shadow trailing behind. He had warriors at his back, yes, and wealth in his chambers, but never the love of the people. They tolerated him, they respected him as heir, but they never adored him. That wound festered, and now it bled envy in streams too heavy to ignore, and faintly, in the corners of his mind, he heard the echo of a woman's voice. His late mother, Queen Abibi, gone too soon from the world. He had been only a boy when she pressed her hands against his cheeks and whispered, "My son, power is a calabash filled with many things. If you drink from it before the appointed time, you will taste poison." Her words had once felt like a mystery. Now, years later, he had buried them under the noise of his own hunger. That night, he called the discontented to his side. A handful of palace guards, men hardened by years of service under King Aid's strict command. They had grown weary of discipline, weary of the sharp tongue of a king who demanded integrity above reward. Sola promised them gold, promised them freedom, promised them power. Their knees bent easily, but not out of loyalty, out of greed. Their eyes gleamed in the torchlight, yet none could see beyond their hunger for riches. Thunder rumbled far in the distance, rolling over the hills like a warning, but the men pressed on. When King Aid returned that evening from a council in a neighboring province, he rode tall, his white horse gleaming under the dim light of torches. His presence was enough to silence the crowd at the gates. But this time, the gates did not open. The guards who once saluted him now crossed their spears in defiance. The king's eyes, sharp and seasoned, narrowed. "Open the gates!" he commanded. His voice did not tremble, though a ripple of shock passed through him. For the first time in his reign, his home did not welcome him. Slowly, the gates groaned open. The courtyard lay quiet, the torches flickering uneasily as though they too feared what they would witness. And there, at the center, stood Prince Sola, his chin lifted proudly, his shoulders squared, his cloak sweeping behind him. He looked his father in the eye, and his voice colder than iron rang out, "Father, your time is over. The throne is mine." The words struck the night like lightning. The courtiers gasped. Even the guards shifted nervously. King Aid dismounted slowly, his gaze fixed on his son. His steps were measured, his face steady, though his heart cracked like dry wood. He looked upon Sola, not as an enemy, but as the child he had once cradled. His voice carried both sorrow and strength. Sola, do you know what you are doing? The throne is not a bed of roses, my son. It is a seat of thorns. But Sola did not waver. He stretched out his hand. The golden crown gleamed in the torchlight, sitting heavy upon Aid's head. With a slow and deliberate gesture, the old king removed it. Their fingers brushed briefly, not in love, not in blessing, but in severed bloodlines. And Aid whispered, voice hoarse yet thunderous in its weight, "Our kingdom stolen, we never bless the thief." The drums of the land fell silent, and thus Prince Sola became King Sola. At first, he rejoiced in it. The palace rang with his new name. The praise singers raised their voices, though their throats quivered. "Sola the Mighty," they sang. Though hollowly, their songs filled with fear rather than admiration. From the balcony, he stretched out his arms, watching the people bow low, power pressed on him like chains of gold. His smile widened, yet deep within him. Unease stirred like a restless serpent. The first test came within days. Farmers from the eastern plains, their backs bent, their feet dusty, came bearing empty baskets. Their voices shook with grief. "Great king," they cried, "locusts have devoured our fields. Help us, as your father once did. Give us seed, give us food, give us hope." Sola looked upon them with hard eyes, his voice cut like a whip. "Am I a farmer?" Till the ground harder. "Pray to your gods. Do not bring your weakness to my throne." The farmers bowed in silence, their faces heavy with bitterness. And word spread quickly across Ajibogun. The new king had no heart. Then came war. Raiders from Elodi struck the borderlands, testing Sola's rule. His father had always fought with wisdom first, strength second. But Sola, eager to prove himself, dismissed all counsel. He commanded his warriors into battle without strategy, demanding triumph without preparation. "Bring me victory!" he thundered. His men obeyed, but what returned was not victory. What returned was death. The drums that once beat for triumph now thundered dodges for the fallen. Mothers wailed in the streets. Wives tore their wrappers in anguish. Fathers dug shallow graves for sons who should have lived. And the people began to whisper, not in fear, but in anger. Still, Sola hardened his heart. Advisors who spoke truth were silenced with exile, or worse, the blade. The palace that had once echoed with wisdom and laughter now suffocated with fear. Only flatterers remained, feeding him lies, sweet as honey but poisoned at their core. But in the silence of the night, Sola could not silence the voice that haunted him. Dream after dream, he saw King Aid. The old man stood tall in the palace courtyard, his crown glowing faintly, his voice shaking Sola's very chest. "My son, the crown you stole will steal your soul." Sola would wake drenched in sweat, clutching the golden crown at his side. He pressed it to his chest desperately, but it felt cold. It no longer burned with majesty, it burned with emptiness. Desperate, he sought the sacred grove. There, incense coiled thick in the air, and the whispers of unseen spirits stirred the trees. The oracle priestess awaited him, her eyes white as river stones, her voice ancient as the hills. "You broke the sacred bond of blood," she intoned. "Until you mend what you shattered, the spirits of this land will resist you." Sola dropped to his knees, his voice cracking. "What must I do?" Her voice rang with judgment. "Return the crown, or return your peace. You cannot keep both." But Sola, bound in chains of pride, spat back, "I am king. I will not bow." And so the land itself turned. Rivers dried to cracked dust, forests emptied of game. Hunters returned with nothing. Traders cursed the palace gates. Women wept as famine gripped their homes. The people whispered in the markets and the fields, "The throne rejects him. He wears the crown, but the crown does not wear him." Then came the blow that broke his spirit. King Aj, who had lived quietly in exile, had died. His passing shook the kingdom like thunder. They carried his body through the streets, thousands weeping openly. "Add the wise," they cried. "Add the just. Add the father of Ajibogun." Men beat their chests until they bled. Women wailed into the sky. Even children asked why the good must die while the wicked still lived. Sola watched from his balcony. No one looked up. No one called his name. The crown on his head burned like fire. For the first time, envy fell away, and shame took its place. That night, thunder growled as Sola sat alone in the great hall. The golden crown lay before him, gleaming under the torches. He reached for it, but his hand froze. For he felt nothing. No triumph, no pride, only emptiness. His whisper cracked into the silence. "The throne has stolen my soul." The people had had enough. Rebellion swelled like a storm. Farmers sharpened their hoes into weapons. Hunters strung their bows. Warriors beat their drums. Women gathered stones. Children shouted curses at the palace walls. Their voices rose in unison. Enough! Enough of the son who betrayed the father. When the palace gates fell, Sola fought alone. His guards abandoned him. His flatterers fled like rats into the dark. And when the people stormed the great hall, they found him clutching the crown like a child clinging to a broken toy. Some say he fled into the forest, vanishing into shadow. Others whisper that the ancestors cursed him, turning him into a wandering spirit, doomed to walk crownless and nameless, forever seeking what he lost. The kingdom of Ajibogun chose a new ruler, not by blood, but by the will of the people. Peace returned slowly, though scars of betrayal remained. And parents told their children the tale of Prince Sola, the son who learned too late that power without wisdom is ruin, and jealousy is a fire that consumes all who feed it. And even now, whenever the moon hides behind clouds, the elders shake their heads and murmur, "Beware the fire of jealousy, for it burns brighter than the sun, but in the end, it leaves only ashes." The end. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more stories. Like, share and comment with your thoughts.